Alrighty folks, the time has come again for me to explain another part of my story in another very disjointed way. I will require you to have to use your wise mind and piece together what all this information means. In fact, I don't even know what all this information means because this story is still very much in progress and I'm still kind of tying it together, so I'm just going to share some bits and pieces so you can better appreciate what you're witnessing in some of my art and animations, I guess. And I'm gonna try and speedrun this one because it's getting late and I just need to wrap this up already. My cat has the zoomies, so if you hear thumping, that is her slamming herself all over my floor. I don't really know why she's doing that, but anyway, I'm gonna get into this one. This video is mostly gonna be about Ginger and Seraphina's relationship. I don't know if you remember Seraphina, she's this character. She is a black leopard with gold spots, and the gold spots are because she is on Team Gold at laser tag. So Ginger's Team Red, she's Team Gold. There's one more, he's Team Blue. That's Kane, Ginger's program brother. Seraphina and Ginger are not related by programming or anything. They're actually best friends, so just consider them as guy-girl besties. In fact, they're such an iconic duo that everyone in their friend group kind of just knows that Ginger and Seraphina are like, they're just a duo. They're iconic and they get along really well. They have a great sense of humor. They're just awesome. They're not a couple because that's kind of weird with the robots. I kind of also don't have time to do a subplot for that. So, yeah. They're just friends. They're really, really good friends. And this is unfortunate because whenever Ginger's weaponized, as you know, the context of him having been weaponized is that he does have to, unfortunately, if his friends get hacked, it literally is his job to kill them, which is not good because whenever you see your best friend every day and you have the underlying thought that you might have to kill them, it's really troubling. And he's got a great poker face, but whenever he thinks about it, it does make him sad, and it's kind of hard to pretend that he's fine when he's thinking about that. So he's gotten to the point where he kind of just avoids being around other people. Even though they end up distracting him normally from his worries, he still just doesn't like that thought at all. So definitely change his personality a little bit after that. But, I mean, his friends noticed he was acting a little bit weird, but, you know, everyone has their off days, even the robots. It's just kind of like part of their coding for them to have, you know, just experiences like people. They can be down sometimes. It's just kind of normal. So whatever. This did happen over an extended period of time, but he always brushed it off when people were worried about him. But anyway, I mean, things aren't horrible at this point. No one's been hacked. I mean, he hasn't actually had to do anything. It's just kind of the worries and thoughts that have been sitting with him, so not good. But naturally, whenever things are doing all right, I'm just going to step in and sprinkle horrific trauma all over my characters. This is when things get really bad. Seraphina and Ginger were hanging out one time after hours in the laser tag arena. This is the first time where they'd actually gotten to talk since Ginger got weaponized, but, I mean, obviously Seraphina doesn't know that he's been weaponized and he's not allowed to tell her, so, you know, they just kind of had normal conversation, and naturally when you have two people in a room that get together along very well, they're going to be able to start talking quite easily, and Ginger got to the point where he's kind of just enjoying talking to her so much and just kind of, you know, laughing with her that they kind of just, he forgets his worries and for the first time in a while just starts to feel normal again. So it was a good little experience, but it ended poorly because while they were sitting there, they were sitting on one of the dividers. The dividers are about 7 feet tall, so I mean, they're pretty up there. He hears something, in the arena. He doesn't know what it is, so he stands up and try and get a better vantage point. As soon as he stands up, there's an explosion. And you're probably wondering how on earth that happened. Ginger's weaponized. He has grenade-like explosives in him. So they were in his side. Basically, it went off inside him. Seraphina was still sitting, and her face was level with his side, so she ended up catching most of the force of it to the side of her face. Thankfully, she was not that damaged on the outside, but she did get concussed and went into a brief coma. She was fine after a few days. The only remnant of her damage that happened to her after that event was that her eye would flicker sometimes. It was very rarely, so the light would just kind of flicker a little bit. And actually, she doesn't actually know that she does this, and Ginger just decided to not tell her because it's sad. So she's got just a little quirk now that she doesn't know about. Ginger himself, unfortunately, if you have a explosive go off inside you, you're not going to be doing very well. It liquefied all of his hydraulic lines, so it was really bad. He ended up being okay because Cliff quote-unquote fixed him, and notice the quote-unquote, this is going to be a little bit unfortunate later. Well, this is not good because when you randomly explode, naturally everyone's going to want to know what happened. And I mean, he had a huge hole in him that had to be covered up, so he was bandaged for like a while, and they're like, what on earth happened to you? At least one of the employees was nice enough to sign it, so that happened. But there's a lot of attention around Ginger now, and he already doesn't want attention. And this is related to his weapon systems, that this even happened at all. But naturally, no one can know. So what happens? Well, Cliff, his creator, makes him lie, and the story that he has to tell everyone is that his battery acid leaked into the lower hot part of his system, and it just exploded. Which is, it's just kind of hard to lie about something that serious, and he's kind of, everyone has a little bit of doubts about the situation. I mean, it doesn't 100% check out, but whatever, that's what he said. So Seraphina holds nothing against him. She knows it was an accident, and she just wants to be his friend again. Well, at this point, the worst has already happened. He's already hurt his friend. Well, it's not the worst that could happen. Obviously, we know that the worst is that he'd have to really hurt his friend, but, I mean, it's a little subtle first sign of him not being able to control himself and his weapon system actually being dangerous and capable of hurting someone. So he's really upset about the situation and ends up really pulling away from Seraphina at this point. And he pulls away from all of his friends, but she takes it really personally, because she's really just trying to reconnect with him. She makes it very clear that she knows it was an accident. She doesn't hold anything against him, and she still wants to be his friend. But it's not, he can't tell her that he has to pull away. It's one of those, you don't understand. This was not, an accident, a one-time, it was an accident, but it wasn't, a contained situation. He's full of weaponry. This could happen again, but on a worse scale. Cliff probably does not put the explosives back, because, I wouldn't do that. It was really expensive and invasive repairs. And Cliff is kind of lazy. So he kind of reused some components in Ginger's system when he fixed him instead of fully replaced the whole thing, which he should have done, which leads to some complications, hence the title of this video. Ginger basically, I'm going to explain it, in short. And my terminology is terrible, and I actually don't really know anything about hardware, so this is probably scientifically inaccurate. Don't science check me on this. He has overheating problems in his core hydraulic system, which is the lower part of his hydraulic system. You can kind of see in this picture, the hologram scan here. That lower part basically just controls all of his limbs. Not his limbs, mostly just his legs, and his, trunk is kind of what gets controlled by that. So it's directly connected with his running, and just kind of, everything, his lower half, basically. So a lot of power down there that he needs. The overheating is also centered down there because there's a lot of friction in his system. So what I mean by that is it's kind of exponential. So whenever he gets too hot, the fluid in his hydraulic system changes consistency. So in some parts it's running too thin, then other parts it's getting congealed. And so you have basically stuff isn't moving properly and it hurts. And also it just creates more friction, which creates more heat. So not good. And so that's kind of just what's going on with him. And because he's complaining to Cliff, and Cliff really sucks, because it's more of mostly just his comfort is not doing well, but he, functionally is okay. He can still, it's gonna be one of those things that you'll have to look at in the future and get fixed. It's not, something you can just put off forever, but, as of right now, it's not that serious, it just hurts, so, whatever. Basically, he has to get fixed, and this is about how it goes.
Where is your sword?
I don't know. What do you mean, I don't know?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So this is basically just another example of how the robot's health and comfort and happiness is not prioritized at all, especially not by Cliff, which is worse because he's the creator and he's the only one that can really fix Ginger. Ginger is unfortunately not allowed to be touched by anyone else because, he's weaponized and Cliff doesn't want to risk anyone else finding out about that. And so Ginger basically goes 2 months dealing with this problem, and it just gets worse and worse. So, anyway, it gets to the point where he actually, he's got really high pain tolerance, so he's not only able to keep it off his face, so you don't actually know that he's actually just dying. He's pretty good at hiding it. But anyway, one point it gets really, really bad to the point that he actually cannot play laser tag and has to forfeit. And then this is when we meet this character. Well, this is when you meet him. He's actually introduced earlier in the story. He's kind of important. This is about when they cross paths and become good pals. Basically just noticed Ginger was totally just dying outside of laser tag. He could not go in. Jonah obviously has a good heart, so he wants to help him. And so basically, it was a little bit unauthorized because Jonah he's not a lab assistant, he works in the entertainment part. He's like a lead of his group. So, but he does have experience in the labs. I haven't really figured it out yet. He's probably has some ties with Cliff personally, and that's why he's allowed back there. So he has a little bit of basic understanding of how stuff works, and also Wild Robotics has a lot of abandoned rooms and equipment that's not being used. He's able to scan Ginger. And he kind of like coerces him into doing it, like, hey, we need to do this, and it's okay to like be honest about what you're dealing with. So they did figure out what was kind of going on with him, but even worse is Jonah noticed the weapons because the scan system did pick that up. So basically Ginger's entire like figure on the scan just like lit up, and there's like a ton of warnings that read irregular. So Jonah was like, what the heck is all of this? And basically learned about Ginger's weapons this way. And obviously Ginger was worried at first that Jonah knew, but he was also relieved that Jonah knew because Jonah actually cares about him. So Jonah was trying to figure out a way to get Cliff to care enough to fix Ginger. It's basically just a robot version of IBS, and he does have nausea, so he like throws up a lot. It's not that bad. It's just oil and stuff. But like the reason for that is because his system miscalculates all like the consistency issues as pressure, like a pressure issue instead of like an overheating issue. So to compensate for that, basically the throwing up mechanism is not actually that. It's just what it looks like. But it's to equalize the pressure just temporarily. Well, the problem is the issue's so low in a system that it doesn't actually recalibrate the whole thing. It just, so basically it's just, he doesn't feel better after that. It just makes a mess, and then he still feels bad. So, and he knows that it's useless too. So just imagine like you're just sick, but for absolutely no reason at all. It's just a side effect. So not good. Not good at all. So like I said, he is not going very well. But I mean, it's also affecting his relationships negatively. Like, Seraphina, she's starting to take stuff personally at this point, because now he's still not talking to her. Cliff is still making him play laser tag, and he's like,
oh, my stomach hurts!
And all of his friends are starting to really scrutinize him, which makes him more uncomfortable and more withdrawn. So, it's just a bunch of bad things happening at once, and extra attention that he doesn't need. And I bet you're wondering, does he get fixed? Yes, he does. He does eventually get fixed. This is after Phoenix, unfortunately, killed herself, and Cliff learned about this. And this is Cliff's revelation that, oh wait, the AI might be sentient, and just sits there in dark horror as he thinks about all the ways that he has totally abused the robots. Good news is he treats Ginger better after this, starts listening to Jonah, decides to fix him. That's great, and that's nice. Hi Stormy, that's my cat. You can hear her, she's so cute. Hi. Anyway, so to just sum up a little bit of the stress and terror and horrible things that Ginger is going through, is basically not wanting to hurt your friends, being weaponized against your will with the prospect that you might have to kill them, accidentally getting blown up from the inside, and then treated terribly about it. So now you're suffering, and your friends just think that you're being a jerk whenever you're just trying to protect them. It's just a bad situation. Thankfully Jonah's there, and Jonah's the only real one. And so are you guys. Thank you for watching my video. Have a great rest of your day.